Today's lesson, we are going to cover the third cause of variation. Variations are differences among living organisms. And I said that there are three causes of variation, that is fertilization, gamete formation, and mutation. Previously, I had explained how fertilization causes variation, that is through the process whereby each parent gives out a single gamete comprising of different genetic constitutions. When those two gametes fuse, then the offsprings may be having different characteristics from one another based on the constitution of that specific gamete that formed the organism. I also explained how the process of gamete formation can lead to variation, and I classified them into two. The first one, I referred to it as the process called independent assortment. And I also talked of another called the process of crossing over, which occurs in meiotic cell division in a stage called process 1. So it is process 1 of meiosis. Today, we are going to talk about how mutation causes variation. Mutation refers to a spontaneous change in the genetic makeup of an organism. What is a spontaneous change? This is just a rapid change which occurs all of a sudden, and that is it. For example, in cases whereby an organism is living in a cold area and then it is taken to a hotter one, where there is too much heat, especially in the desert, then this organism, for it to be able to survive in this desert, it must come up with some body characteristics which will enable it to survive. For example, previously, wherever it was in that terrestrial ecosystem where there is too much rain and cold, it was having a thick subcutaneous layer of fats to insulate the body against heat loss. In this area where it has been located now, there is too much heat. So the body needs to eliminate heat. Previously, it was to preserve, but here to dispose of because it's too much. Do you know the impact of too much heat in the internal surrounding of an organism? Definitely, you must be having an idea. It isn't good at all. When the heat intensity in the body of an organism becomes higher, then the organism stands a risk of losing life because too much heat may lead to denaturation of cells and enzymes. Hence, this person may end up dying. So, let's talk about this animal that is now in the desert. There are some characteristics that it's supposed to acquire, such as thinness of the subcutaneous layer of fats. It should be absolutely thin. Why? Because too much heat needs to be eliminated to the environment. Let us say we had brought 100 of them into this desert. It means that only those that will be able to acquire that characteristic will survive. They must also be able to feed on the food found in the desert, which is definitely different from the one found in terrestrial ecosystem. And therefore, for it to be able to survive, it must be able to conform within all these characteristics which are here, including feeding requirement, camouflaging away from the predators to increase chances for survival, among many others. And those ones were covered by Sir Charles Darwin when he was talking about the theory of evolution, whereby he was mentioning an aspect of survival for the fittest. Organisms which can be able to survive in that environment is the one that can adapt to the characteristics found there. This cuts across, and in all organisms which change location, there is an aspect of evolution, especially if the two locations were having different climatic factors. In some cases, Mutation may be caused by various factors, and such factors are referred to as mutagens. Mutagens comprise of examples such as ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, even environmental factors such as too much heat, exposure to chemical substances, among many others. Let's talk about exposure to chemical substances. There is a certain insecticide which has been used for so long to kill the mosquitoes. It is called dichlorodiphenyl trichloroethane, DDT. DDT has been used for so long, but of late, most of the mosquitoes have become resistant to this insecticide. So even if you spray it onto that mosquito, it doesn't die. Why? It has come up with mechanisms of preventing this insecticide from killing it, which has been coded in its genotypic makeup, and therefore even the offsprings that it is producing cannot be killed by that insecticide, and that has made it quite difficult to control the mosquito population. Another mutation based on chemical substances is the malaria parasites, which are called Plasmodium. Plasmodium parasites are also known to have mutated against some drugs, and that is why the malarial drugs keep on changing from time to time. For example, the ones that were the best 20 years ago are not the best now. Some new ones have been introduced, such as artemether-lumefantrine, which has been used for quite some time. Even as I'm speaking, it is still in use because it is still having high efficiency in clearance of malaria parasite. That organism that has mutated is referred to as a mutant, and the gene that it is bearing that is not similar to the one that was there initially is referred to as a mutant gene. End of lesson number 93. Thanks for watching.